So I'm here with Andy Holz from Plugged In, which is absolutely fantastic. Hi, Adam.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm having a great day.
Oh, fantastic. So, what have you got for us in the world of media, books, I don't know, YouTube, films, music, you name it? What have you got?
So much. We have a little bit of everything, and I want to start with something that I haven't actually had a chance to see yet, but I want to talk about it. And that is a Taylor Swift movie. Are they doing that over there this weekend too?
I don't know. I've not heard. But then you see, I'm
So,
not I'm not in the know. You're more in the know
yeah,
than I am.
I suspect it's being released. So, Taylor Swift has a new album coming out this weekend, and it's called The Life of a Showgirl. And if you've seen any of the artwork, she has a very Las Vegas showgirl kind of vibe going on. And at least here in the States, they're doing a release party movie over the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to give fans an opportunity to donate even more money to Taylor Swift than, she already has, apparently. I think her marketing team never sleeps. That's the bottom line. And
Yeah.
she's no slouch either. But it feels like, she's been one of the biggest stories in music the last, number of years at this point. Her Eras tour globally was massive. It made literally like $2 billion, and she's not resting. And she's got this album coming out. Haven't listened to it yet, but she's going to be back in the zeitgeist and in the spotlight as if she ever retreated that far. And there may be listeners among your folks who have daughters or sons who really enjoy Taylor Swift. And I will say, I think she is an amazing storyteller. I think she's a phenomenal songwriter. She's great with words. I understand her appeal. And she still has that sort of girl next door ish vibe. If the girl next door was worth a couple $1 billion, right? um, but she also has a worldview that I think really, really, really places a sense of identity on romance and on love. And I think that on one hand, that can be redemptive, right? Our relationships with each other are important. And so finding somebody that we want to spend our life with that shares our values and our heartbeat, that's a good thing. But, if you know anything about Taylor Swift, it can get a little bit obsessive and unhealthy at times too. And her last several albums, not super explicit, but certainly some allusions to sexual things. And her language has really gotten worse too. A lot more profanity on the last album than we have seen from her. And so I'm curious where she goes here content wise. I'm also curious where she goes storytelling wise, because by all accounts, she's on the verge of getting married to Travis Kelce, an American football player. She seems very happy, but she has not built her brand on happiness. She's built her brand on tragedy. So is she going to
Ah,
have to role play a little bit more? Is she going to have to tell stories that are a little bit more fictional and less autobiographical? I don't know. We'll
that's
see. But
interesting.
I'm
Mm.
curious about all of that, though.
Yeah,
So,
I had heard that about the impending marriage, but it's
yes.
interesting how you say, yeah, a lot of her songs are written about tragedy. So living happily ever after songs, maybe not her kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Yeah, and they were
see.
early. They were early in her career, but she quickly grew tired of
Oh,
that. And
oh.
her first couple albums actually are very, very sweet, and things have gotten a little more, you could say, dark, a little more
Mm.
complex since then. And full disclosure, I have two teen daughters. We went to the Eras tour not once but twice, so I have an ongoing conversation with my daughters about Taylor Swift and her perspective on reality, because
Oh.
you know what? When you identify with a musician and with their songs and you listen to them hundreds, if not thousands of times, there's a lot of opportunity for influence there. And so you guys have a strong music focus. I think music, pound for pound, ounce for ounce, exerts more influence in the lives of kids than maybe any other entertainment medium. because of that repeated exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always say that we play Taylor Swift, but clearly, if there's some profanity, we won't
Sure.
be able to because there's no bad language on pure
Yep.
24/7 radio. So that won't happen.
Yep.
But it's good to have the warnings about that and to be sure and understand what we're getting ourselves in for, so we can make informed choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Brilliant. So Taylor Swift, that's a bit of music.
Yep.
What else have you got for us?
So last week, Andy and I talked about a movie called Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie. Gabby's Dollhouse is a TV show on Netflix that is about a girl. Actually, the actress is 17, but she plays younger than that on the show, who has a little magical headband with cat ears, and she squeezes her cat ears and she shrinks down and can get in the dollhouse with her cats. So it's very sweet. And I'm not going to say more about that. You can find our full review at pluggedin.com. But this week we had an opportunity to interview Gloria Estefan, who was a singer in the 80s, and then the star of the show who plays Gabby, Layla Lockhart Creener. And if you go to our YouTube page for Plugged In, Kennedy Unthank, one of our reviewers, spent some time talking with both of them. And so
Mm.
you may not think of Plugged In as someplace you go for interviews, but occasionally, not every week, but fairly regularly, we have opportunities to talk to people who are creating the things that we're watching and listening to. So I would just commend that to
Oh,
people's
that sounds
attention.
fun. Yeah, sounds fantastic. Plugged in doing interviews. I didn't know that either.
Yep. Next up, also
Yeah.
we'll stay on Netflix. There is a new sort of modernized take on a very old story, and when I tell you the title, you'll know exactly what it is. It's called Ruth and Boaz, and it
Oh.
takes the story of Ruth and Naomi, and it modernizes it, sets it in a totally contemporary context. And apart from a couple places where there's a little bit of innuendo, they do a fairly good job of updating this in a completely contemporary context. So there's just a smattering of profanity, one or two mild profanities, but pretty interesting take on, what would it look like to reimagine Ruth and Boaz's story in a modern context? And interestingly, it's on Netflix. So we've seen so much Christian content over the last few years. I think even some of the bigger secular and mainstream players are looking for a way to get in on that action. And so Ruth and
Mm.
Boaz, and you can find our full review at pluggedin.com.
Yeah, I love that story, Ruth and Boaz. I absolutely do. And what's really good, it's like a little short book in the Bible that you can
Yeah.
read within a few
Yep.
sort of minutes, rather than some of them being quite long. So that's one you can read in one sitting, and it's just really lovely, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
there's a good ending, a happy ending, as it were. So yeah, that would lend itself, wouldn't it, to a film?
It totally lends itself to a film, and I think that they did a pretty good job with it. So,
Brilliant.
yeah, I mean, there are weeks that I come on with you guys where there's things to talk about, but not necessarily things that we can commend to people's
Mm.
attention, with the suggestion that, yeah, this may be something that's worth checking out. But a couple things this week sort of check that box. So that
I,
is always nice.
I like the name Boaz. I don't know if anyone gets called that these days. I'm sure there are people out there, but what a cool name. It's always
It's
good
a
to have a
pretty cool
name.
name. Yeah.
So that's music, and that
Yep.
was a film you say on
Yeah.
Netflix.
That is a
Um,
film on
yeah.
Netflix. Yep.
And we've got time for more, haven't we? I'm
Yeah.
very much aware that we need to keep to time, but you've got
Yeah.
so many good things to talk about. We could talk for days, really, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could. There's another thing that is on YouTube. We review YouTube channels, but this isn't a YouTube channel review. This is a TV show that the creators who have produced it independently have released on YouTube, and it is called The Promised Land. Now, you might think, oh, that's probably about Moses and the Israelites, and that part you would be correct. Here's where it gets weird, funny, interesting, and creative in equal measure. Imagine if you took the story of Moses and you mashed it up with The Office. the TV show The Office, and there's a British version and an American version. Pick either one, doesn't matter. This is a sort of mockumentary comedy retelling the story of Moses entering the promised land from that sort of comedic office style perspective. And it is funny. I mean, it sounds like the weirdest thing that you have ever heard of, but it's funny. But weirdly enough, there's a fair bit of content just because actually there's a fair bit of content in Moses' story too. And so there will be weird things that happen on here, and you'll think, oh, that was very strange. And then you'll look it up and like, oh, I guess that was in there and I never noticed it before.
Oh, wow.
So
if nothing else, you'll want to read the Bible, won't you? Like,
yeah,
what does it actually say? What's the story?
Exactly.
Where is that?
Exactly. Like for example, Moses is sort of whining to the camera, and he says, just once it would be nice if there was a line of people who would say, hey Moses, thank you for getting us out of Egypt, can't wait to get to the promised land, have a great day. I mean, it's got that kind of in the US, The Office was headed up by Steve Carell. I think who was it?
Gervais, wasn't it? Original.
Yes, Ricky
yeah,
Gervais,
he was the original writer,
there.
Ricky Gervais. Yeah.
I actually am partial to the British version, but
yeah?
I may be in the minority. But anyway, I think it's if you're a fan of The Office, this might actually be worth checking out. So, but again, it's got some moments that'll make you raise your eyebrows a little bit.
Oh,
too.
really? Oh,
I mean, not in a like, oh, that's beyond the pale kind of sense, but
yeah,
in a sense of, oh, okay, I've never really thought about that before.
Who are the actors then in this?
It's a bunch of nobody you're gonna recognize their names.
Okay.
So unless you know who Wasim Nomani is, which I
no,
didn't.
you got me there.
Kiran Khan, Majed
To be
Sayes.
fair, Adam, if you mention somebody really famous, I'd probably go, "Oh, who's that again? Oh, is that the one who does?" And I'd be there for ages trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't help much.
Yep.
So that's interesting. Two there, sort of Christian type ones. You've got Ruth and Boaz and the Promised Land. Are there more Christian ones?
That's the only one like that. There's certainly other Christian stuff out there, but this is a kind of a labor of love from the guys that created it, and they have really sought to reimagine, I think, in a good way, the biblical story from a comedic perspective, which, other than maybe The Life of Brian way back in the 70s from Monty Python, which certainly was not doing Christianity any favors.
No.
We haven't seen a lot of that.
No. Oh, wow. So that's just really interesting how we're having something like that out there at this time. Definitely needed. Because I think back to school, take your Bible to school is something that, is it you guys focus from in the family? I saw that recently. I love that. So something like this is going to really support things like that. So that's good.
Yes.
I think, have we got time for one more thing?
Yep. And I'll blaze through it super fast.
Okay.
There's a new album out from 21 Pilots, and 21 Pilots is a huge group. Their stuff really blends genres between pop and hip hop and rap and that sort of thing. And they have been telling sort of an ongoing dystopian story. And this is sort of the conclusion of that story, and a character named Clancy who is fighting against the dystopia. I won't spoil it for you. It's worth it's worth a look at the review. It sort of references suicide, but it does so from a perspective of really, really encouraging people not to lose hope, to stay engaged. This is in some ways a dark album, but in some ways I think a really upbeat album. And if you're a 21 Pilots fan, you've probably already digested it 10 times. They have an absolutely ravenous following. These guys are both Christians and have talked at length about their faith over the years. They're not a Christian band in the way that we might normally think about that, but they're certainly a band whose faith influences them. And we see that show up in some of the redemptive themes in Breach. So that is
Ah.
the latest from 21 Pilots.
Wow, fantastic. That's something at Pure 24/7 Radio. We never differentiate between Christian and non-Christian music because
Okay.
you see, people are, there's a mixture, isn't it? And even if you may
Yeah.
not consider yourself to be Christian, your lyrics will speak of Christian type things. And we have a lyric game
Yep.
we play where you have to guess whether it's a Christian or a non-Christian band.
Oh,
And
wow.
sometimes
That's
it's really
fun.
difficult. So one of the lyrics was from Skillet, and they're like, "Oh,
Okay.
can't be Christian." It's like, yeah,
Yep.
totally. And
Totally.
then there was, I think, one from Katy Perry, who's clearly not a Christian, but her
Right.
lyrics were quite Christian in that, and so on. So that's useful to know. That's brilliant. I
Yep.
love that. So we've got lots of music there, and Netflix, and sort of Promised Land. That's something that's loads to look forward to. Promised Land.
Yep.
I mean, I've got to go and watch The Office now just to remind myself
Yeah.
of what that kind of comedy was, so that I can
Yep.
prepare myself for Promised Land.
Yep.
Well, you have yourself a great rest of your day. Thank you so much again,
I will do it. Thank
Adam,
you,
from
Joe.
Plugged In. Again, remind us of the website that we can go to
Yeah.
so we can get all of these great sort of, what do you call them? Reviews? What's the right
Yeah.
word?
Reviews,
Reviews? Yeah.
commentary,
Yeah.
tutorials. So yeah,
Yeah.
you'll get reviews of music, TV, television, movies, video games, YouTube channels, and technology. And you can find us at pluggedin.com. And we are a ministry of Focus on the Family.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again, Adam. We'll
You
catch
bet.
you next time.
Sounds good.